Hello and welcome. You're listening to Start Again with Shauna Lee, sponsored by Kit McKillop, Reiki Master and Intuitive Guide. This is the place where you will be reminded that it's never too late and you're never too old to do the damn thing. So stick around if you're ready to vibe higher and be inspired to chase your dreams. Together, we will uncover your soul's truest desires. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I'm introducing you to another new friend, Patti Handy. She's actually the founder of her signature program, Minding Her Money. So we are talking money today. And Patti, I'm so glad that you're here with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. I'm very happy to be here as well.
I love how the universe puts people in my path that are willing to share their story. And so I'm so grateful that you're here. I love to kick these off with just throwing it to you and letting you do a quick little intro. Tell us a little bit about who you are, kind of your story. Specifically, I love to capture how you've embraced this idea of starting again.
Yes, most definitely. So I am, first and foremost, a mom. I'm a single mom. I got divorced when my son was 18 months old, and he's now 27. So it's been a very long time.
It has
And
been a while.
yeah, many years. I know it's like, gosh, where did that happen? How did that happen? I don't even know where those
Yeah.
years went, but they did. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so I was kind of from a academic and career place. I was in corporate banking, got married, and we had some issues getting pregnant. So we tried for 5 years, finally had my son by in vitro. And I was very excited and very, very blessed. And after the divorce, or at the time of the divorce, I should say, I was unemployed because I wanted to stay at home with him after working so hard to,
Yeah.
to get my little miracle baby, and
Yes.
found myself then having to go back to work and find something that I needed to do to, generate income and whatnot. And I went into the mortgage lending world. I'm a numbers person, and then I went into the financial planning world. I was a financial advisor, and I loved all of that. Had some great conversations with many clients. And a lot of the common theme that I had heard from women specifically, who were divorced or widowed or single, was around money and the lack of confidence and the uncertainty and the
Yep.
embarrassment and shame that they felt not knowing more about money. And so I decided to pivot. Later in life, I should say. And
Yeah.
I decided to, at the ripe old age of 62, I'm going to be 63 in about a week. And I decided to leave the financial advisory job and open my own financial coaching business. So I do,
I
it's
love it.
kind of a life coaching with a financial twist, a lot of financial
Hmm.
education, a lot of financial empowerment, and life coaching interwoven with that. So that's a very high level, quick overview.
Yes. So you've obviously embraced this idea of starting again later in life, which is what we talk about a lot on this show. So I guess when you look back at your story and going from this really traditional career path, I think your story is a really common one in that we as women tend to really dive into motherhood when we choose to have children
Mhm.
or not in some cases. When we have children, we are typically all in and we build so much of our identity around being a mom. Everything goes into trying to be a good mom and all of that goes into it that I think a lot of times other things kind of fall by the wayside. And what I've heard from a lot of women is this desire to have something of their own, to
Mhm.
build something other than being a mom.
Mhm.
And sometimes it is life path that sends us into having to work and build a career in that way. But in other times, it really is from a desire of wanting to have that for themselves. But your story is really common in kind of, I was a mom and now I have to go back to work. What the heck do I do? And the fact that you went kind of down this traditional path of corporate finance, all of those things. I love how you've interwoven that into doing something on your own in your own business that utilizes all of those skills that you grew and cultivated over the years. So thank you for sharing that. But when you look back at your story, what do you think inspires you most about it?
There's a few things. One is I want to inspire my son and my loved ones to be open to possibilities, be open to opportunities, just be open to thinking outside the box. We are not in this necessarily in this world to be, in this 9 to 5 and fit into this, strict kind of situation. When I went into the mortgage lending business, I'll pivot for 1 second. But when I went to the mortgage lending business, I did that because it allowed me to work at home and make my own hours, and it allowed me the flexibility to be a mom. And yes, you're right. Your comment about being a mom, that was first and foremost. My son already lost his dad full time. I didn't want him to lose his mom first full time. So I created that situation where I could work at home, and it was all commission. It was not a salary. There was no, set
Mm,
guarantee. So there's a lot of like, okay, I just need to, work it hard. The other inspiration for me, which is kind of why I left the financial planning world, is I wanted to make a greater impact. I wanted to find more fulfilling work that allowed me to reach, thousands of women over time. And with financial coaching being virtual, I can do this, from anywhere and help anybody anywhere. So that is very fulfilling for me. And I just felt like there was this need for this help. This these women need this kind of help, and I felt it in my heart to want to you know make some kind of dent in the world and create some kind of movement, if you will, and have
mhm.
that impact in a
Yeah.
bigger way.
Yeah, and I think, for me, what's inspiring about hearing your story thus far is your ability to pivot and make decisions that benefit you personally. It's allowing you to do what you need to do to be,
Hmm.
take care of your responsibilities, but also to do it in a way that works for you so that you still can focus on what was the top priority for you, which is being a mom and available to your son. I think that that's common for a lot of, this term mompreneurs, right?
Hmm.
These moms who are building a business because they want to provide for their children, obviously, but they want to do it in a way that allows them to stay true to what is their priority, which is their children. And I think that's really commendable. I think a lot of women want to be able to do that and don't know how. So I think that's a pretty inspiring part of your story as well.
Yeah, thank you. I For anybody who's on the fence about how to do that, balancing family and balancing work and everything else, I think the word balance is sort of a misnomer. There's never ever like complete balance. I mean, even when you're walking down the street, you're walking on one foot and you're off of one foot at any moment in time, right? So
Yes.
it's this sort of dance that you're doing with life. And some days you're going to be 80% in the mom world, and some days you're going to be 100% in the mom world, and some days you're going to be 50%. It's going to be, within a day,
Yeah.
those percentages might be different. So it's okay. There isn't any set stone number that you've got to follow to say, okay, I've got to be 100% here. What I would suggest is whenever you are with work, you're 100% present with work. When you're with your kids or family, you are 100% present with your family and not thinking about work, and vice versa. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm feeling guilty. I'm not with my kids. I'm working right now. And then you don't really get much work done. And then when you're with your kids, you're
Yes.
like, oh, I should be working. I need to be getting this, and this done. So this unrealistic expectation that we place on ourselves is just working against us.
It's so true. And I love how you shifted it from being this concept of balance to a dance because one, that sounds like more fun. If I think about trying to balance on a tightrope, that doesn't seem fun to me. But if you're talking about a dance and how I'm going to do this give and take and this back and forth and this up and down it's this flowy, evolving, more fun way to do all the same things, right? But I love how your advice is good to it's really great actually to be all in and be present with where you are. I think that's one of the things that holds us back, especially as working moms, is this guilt of worrying about where you're not in the
Right,
moment.
right.
Like fully show up where you are in the moment. I think that really speaks to how we feel the most fulfilled in our choices. I think that's really great.
Yeah, and you made a good point about just the sense of guilt. I mean, we are as moms usually responsible for a lot of things between
Yes.
the kids and the home and the bills and the shopping and the career, if you've got that, it's sometimes you're dealing with your older parents. I mean, there's this juggling act of all these responsibilities that we take upon ourselves, and we are oftentimes really hard on ourselves. I mean, I know I am, and I've gotten a lot better with that with time. I think getting older, you have more wisdom,
Yes.
and that's one thing about aging is good. But it's also so important to give ourselves grace and just understand that it's okay. We're not trying to be perfect.
Yes.
That's a false sense of crap, right? It's
Yeah.
just you don't we
Yes.
don't we don't try to, let's just give ourselves some love and don't judge, and we're doing the best we can, and we've got a lot going on in our world, so let's just talk to ourselves like we would our best friend who's, going through what we're going through.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. And I think you're right. With age comes wisdom. And I think we spend a lot of time talking about lessons learned and wisdom gained and knowledge gained along the path of, this journey we call life. And I have noticed when I look back at my lessons over the years that there tends to be a theme in that. And so when you look back on your journey, what do you think is the common theme in your lessons?
That's a great question. I have never been asked that, but I definitely have given that some thought because there are some things in my life where I'm like, goodness gracious, what
Yes.
is the lesson in this? What is it? I might use a couple other choice words. I'll keep it
Uh-huh.
clean. Um,
Well, listen, you don't have to keep it clean on this podcast. We like all the colorful words here. So,
Okay. Well, the shitstorm of life, okay, when I'm in the midst
correct.
of something, I'm like, "Okay, what's the opportunity to learn here? What's the growth?" And it's always, well, not always, quite often, I come back to patience.
Mm, yes.
I have got to learn more patience.
Yes.
And I think it comes down to the it certainly can be attributed to some of the things that I learned as a child and just, thriving and accomplishing and wanting to make my parents proud and working hard and just go, 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 go. And then, when I went through my divorce, I had to kind of reframe and reshift my world, and I needed things to happen fast. I needed to, generate income fast. I needed to
Yeah.
grind and hustle, and and things would just slap me up on my ass, and I would be on my backside again. I'm like, oh, okay, what?
Yes.
What am I
Now
doing
what?
wrong here?
Yes.
And so when I think back on those times, I mean, even today, things will happen, and I'm like, okay, Patty, patience, just
Yeah.
patience. You need to slow your row.
Yeah.
And I mean, I give an example. I actually just coming out of about a week long, almost 2 weeks long of vertigo.
Mm,
And usually when I get vertigo, I can knock it out in a day or two. And I usually get vertigo like once or twice a year. It isn't like I'm, thank God, living with this, on a very regular basis. But it was like, it was God saying, you need to stop. You need to stop right now and just lay down.
mhm.
And very few things make me stop and lay down, but vertigo forced me to lay down and do actually, you sit up in vertigo, you can't lay down. But it stopped me in my tracks. And if you've ever
Mhm.
experienced vertigo, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I have and I do.
Yeah. Oh, goodness
Yeah.
gracious. So, but I think to answer your question, patience is really the thing for me.
Yeah. Well, I always say I always say patience is a virtue and not one I was born with. Like it's definitely
Yeah.
one that I have had to cultivate over the years, and I do think especially in all my years of parenting, I have become more patient, but the young me was not. She was a very impatient one, and I find that for me when I kind of look at the themes in my lessons, it's really like what are those patterns that are showing up, and that definitely is a pattern for me as well. Just this
Mm,
eagerness to push hard and go fast and get it done quicker. And I would agree with you that I always say the universe forces me to stop when I'm not doing it proactively on my own. Like we're not meant to go, go, go at that pace all the
yeah.
time. I think it helps us to accomplish things and reach our goals and do all these great things. But again, it's that dance, that balance that you have to remember that rest is also equally important. And so when I don't proactively rest, I am forced to rest when it's
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I think it comes back to what we were saying earlier, and that is just all our responsibilities, that we've got so much
Hmm.
to take care of that we oftentimes don't give ourselves that time to rest because there's so much to do.
Yeah. Well, and we hear all these cliches and we hear this self care guidance. My favorite that I say all the time, it's because it's so true. And that's the whole concept that you can't pour from an empty cup. Like you have to be able to
Right,
care for yourself and fill yourself up before you can properly show up for others in the world.
right.
And I think rest is a big component of that. I think sometimes we as especially single moms, we have so much to do on any given day that resting seems like a luxury.
Mhm.
And I think it's a critical component of happy, well rounded people.
100%, 100%, and I think there's a lot of, guilt around when we are resting and just taking time for ourselves, there's guilt around that, and that's gotta shift for sure
Yes.
because
Yes.
we can't like you said, we can't take care of anybody else, whether it's our kids, parents, friends, loved ones, whatever, without taking care of ourselves first, and the self-care component is huge.
It is so huge. And I think, I'll be the first to jump up and defend any single mom and say we're badasses at the amount of shit we get done. Like, that is really impressive. But we also have to remember that resting sometimes is doing something. I think a lot of that guilt is like, I'm not doing anything. But sometimes your resting is the doing that is necessary. You're giving to yourself, you're recharging your batteries, you're doing what is necessary. So you are doing something. It's just what it produces isn't a tangible thing. What it
Yeah.
produces, because we're always like, what am I getting done? I need to be productive. You're producing a better version of yourself when you're rested and you can show up better for the world.
Yeah, and I think some of my best ideas and my aha moments come from when I'm quiet
Yes.
and I'm resting, I'm sitting in the backyard looking at the sky or, whatever. It's like, "Oh." And I think that's,
Yes.
so yeah, you are productive because you are coming up with some great
Yeah.
ideas potentially. But no, I think the quiet time is huge, and I think it's important that we put it on our calendar like an appointment. Block
Yes.
out 30 minutes to take a walk or sit outside or meditate or whatever it is that you need to do for yourself that
Yeah.
you just block it out.
Yeah, totally. And I think, yeah, we have to make it a priority to make it happen. But I'm the same way. Like there are some days where I'm like, I don't even have time to take a shower. But some of my best ideas come to me when I'm in the shower.
Yes.
Like, and so I'm like, okay, yes, when I give to myself, meditation is huge for me. So
Mhm.
the times that I'm sitting down to meditate, like every book idea I've ever had has come to me in meditation or in the shower. And those are two times when I am giving to myself and just being still.
Nice.
And I think yes, that is, that's the value. So you're not doing nothing. You're actually allowing those really great ideas to come through. I think that's where, business ideas come through, the next aha for how you're going to get money flowing into your life. Like I think all of that happens in those moments of quiet and rest.
I agree 100%,
So,
and I'm with you. The shower and the treadmill are my 2 places where ideas come up.
yes. Yes. Well, and I love that because I have this program, it's called Align, and I teach women how to align their body, mind, and spirit. And it really is so that you get into that flow state.
Nice.
But one of the things I teach in there is that it doesn't look the same for everybody. So for you, it's the treadmill. For me, it's meditation. And neither is right or wrong. It is what works for us. And the key is knowing that that's your thing and making it a priority and time
Mhm.
to do it, which I think is really
Mhm.
important.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree. I meditate as well, which I love. I learned TM about a little over a year ago, and I do it every day, and it's been a game changer for me as well.
Totally a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that though where those ideas come because I know like as a writer, I need to know how to not force it, but I need to learn how to align myself to where those ideas are going to come from and that because when I'm in creative flow, the words just flow out of me onto the page. And so knowing the 1, 2, 3 steps I can take to get myself to that point, I think is what's key. And so just knowing like, okay, things don't feel clear. I'm going to get on the treadmill. That's where clarity comes from. That's That's really cool.
Yeah, that's a great point. We need to get one of those, waterproof shower notepads so we can write notes in the shower, So because
Yes,
when you get
yes.
out, you forget. It's like, "What was I thinking about in there? I remember it was something really good." But
Oh, I have my phone in the bathroom with me, so as soon as I get out of the shower, I just open my notes and I just write the notes
there
down
you
really
go.
quickly. That's usually how I capture them.
Yeah.
So, one of my next questions is my most favorite question to ask because I think such beautiful wisdom comes out of the answers that are all so very, very different. But when you think back to the younger you, you can pick whichever age, whichever stage. What advice would you give her? Did you know I'm Reiki certified? My Reiki master and intuitive guide, Kit McKillop, is sponsoring this episode. While I am certain her intuition is spot on, don't simply take my word for it. Her gentle spirit will guide you along your path in a way that feels like home. She has opened registration for a new class offering called Claim Your Energy, which is designed to help empaths and highly sensitive people learn the basics of energetic exchange. Do you ever wonder why it can be overwhelming and feel draining to be in large groups of people? She will teach you easy tools and techniques to ground, center, and shield your energy in this course. Claim your energy with Kit at kitmckillop.com. Use promo code SimplyShauna to save 20%. Now let's get back to the show.
Ooh, that's a good question too. I would probably look at my 20s, my age as far as my 20 somethings, and I would tell her, well, I'll speak from a financial spot and then I'll speak from a personal spot.
Okay.
From a personal spot, it would be you don't need the approval from everybody to, feel good about yourself. You don't need to get acceptance and approval from parents, siblings, friends, whatever. You
Yes.
are enough, and you are perfectly made. And yes, it's always great to always become your best version of yourself. So always start, keep learning. But that doesn't mean, your self-worth is connected to that. From a financial perspective, I wish I knew the power of compounding interest in my 20s, because
Right.
if I was taught that, it would be a very different situation today. So that's why one of the first things when I talk to teenagers or kids coming out of college, or even clients, it's like, okay, we need to look at the power of compounding and what happens if you just stay consistent over time. This is like crazy.
Right.
um, and the other thing from a financial perspective is your self-worth has nothing to do with your net worth. And if we can
Mm.
just acknowledge the fact that um, our monies, our material items have nothing to do with us as a person, as a human being. And I think we get caught up in that with society, that there's that connection that, oh, if I've got this car or this house or this watch
For
or this
sure.
purse or that, whatever it is, that's connected to how I feel about myself. And that's just not a healthy place, because you'll be chasing your tail forever. And
Yes.
the world is chasing their tail. So why would you want to keep up with that stupidity? Right?
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Well, and to piggyback on that, I thought of a question while you were talking about that. In your business, I'm sure you're encountering people at all different stages of their life, and having that conversation up front early about compounding interest obviously is like the one thing you probably want to convey the most. But when you kind of look at the theme in your clients and the conversations you're having, what do you think is like the biggest advice that comes out over and over again? The one thing that you feel like you're having to tell everyone that you wish you could just tell the whole world?
Well, everyone's story is different, and everyone's walk of life is different. I don't know that there would be a global statement or a blanket statement on that. I think if I had to say something kind of generally speaking, it would be that, especially we as women, because I've heard a lot from, as I mentioned at the beginning, from divorced and widowed women or single women, because they don't have the understanding of financing or finances and investing. They don't have that financial confidence. They don't have the understanding of investing in the markets and what that looks like. There's a lot of embarrassment and a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, and they're frustrated with themselves that they don't have that. And my message is we never learned it. You were never taught it. We don't learn it in schools. We typically don't learn it at home. So, how do we expect to just learn this by osmosis? We are all on this journey, and be kind with yourself. It's okay that, you are here. Let's just move forward. Let's just take what you know and let's just move forward and stop judging the past or trying to criticize our past. Let's just look at the future and how we can get to that place we want to be. I remember hearing a podcast some time ago, and I forget who it was that I was listening to, but the guest that they had was a gentleman who was talking about men and women in investing, and he had done a survey in some capacity, and basically the result of the survey were that men look at investing as a challenge, and women look at investing as a threat.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I found that just very, very interesting. And I thought, okay, I really need to want to change that. I want women to feel it to be um, not even a challenge, but just something that's comfortable and confident and step into that. And that doesn't mean understanding everything about finances, the markets, and the money. And I mean, I don't understand everything about the markets. And there's just
Yeah.
there's I mean, who does? Warren Buffett, maybe, but it's ever evolving. So anyways, long answer to your question is yes, just give yourself some grace. It's okay that we don't know this. Let's just move forward. This is, teaching you the practicalities and the mechanics of money isn't difficult. And once you learn it, you'll learn it. And once you know it, you're like, oh, that was easier than I thought.
Yeah. Well, and what do you think is the best way for women to go about learning that? What's the first tiny little step that they could take to learn what they don't know?
First, well, there's so many things you can do. I mean, there's some great books. There's a lot of wonderful books out there. I would suggest staying offline because there's a lot of noise online, and you don't know
Yes.
what's right and what's wrong online, unless you know the person specifically and you follow them and you know that they're. I mean, there's a lot of great podcasts and a lot of great individuals out there who are very talented and experienced and who are experts in the financial world. Yes, follow them, listen to them. Learn from that situation. um, Working with a financial coach is a good idea. If you're in a situation where you need a financial advisor, work with an advisor. If you are in need of an advisor, make sure you find one that listens to you and understands you completely. Does a lot more listening than talking. That's super important. Reaching out to friends and family members who are comfortable in their finances and just kind of pick their brain, talk to them and ask them what their recommendations are in terms of just getting started. What should they look for? That's kind of what I don't want to do a shameless plug here, but that's kind of what drove me to do what I'm doing. I want to be that educator. And I think it's important that they find somebody who they can trust and that they knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, and I like your other suggestion right before that. So I think a lot of people, women especially, and a lot of single moms, they're coming to the financial conversation from a state of lack of funds and not having enough money and feeling like, well, I can't even figure out how to pay my bills without going negative each month. How am I going to have the money to pay for a coach? But I like that suggestion you just gave, which was talk to the people in your life who are quote unquote good with their money, who look like they are doing what you don't know how to do, and talk to them about that. I think that opens up the conversation and makes it less shameful, because I think that's another thing I've seen with a lot of women who are in that state of I don't have enough money is they feel ashamed that they don't, or they feel embarrassed about the fact that their financial choices or decisions have gotten them to where they are. And I think there's always a sense for everyone, regardless of the conversation, where we feel like we should be further along, or we feel like we should know things that we don't currently know. And I think there's no shame in admitting that you don't know something. It's what you do with it from there that matters. And there's always a way to find out what you don't know, to learn what you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think people are always excited to help. So if you've got a family member who, like you said, is somebody that is a few steps ahead of you in that place, I would imagine they would be very, very happy to help you and
Hmm.
be very happy to teach you and guide you. My one recommendation would be if you're dealing with investing in, say, a product of some kind that you don't understand, that you don't buy into it until you fully, completely understand all the mechanics of it, because there's a lot of products out there that have a lot of moving parts and they're not easy to understand. They're somewhat complicated. There's hidden fees. There's different, aspects to it. With annuities, there's hidden fee, not hidden fees, but there's fees that you don't necessarily see outwardly. There's surrender fees, so you have to realize, what that means. And if you can't turn around, I've said this many times, if you can't turn around and teach this product or service to a fourth grader, you don't understand it well enough to buy it yourself. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad product. It just means that you need to understand it more to make sure that it's a suitable investment for you.
Right.
So if somebody's trying to, sell you something, and you don't understand it, don't feel the pressure thinking, oh, well, they know more than I do and they're better educated than I am. They must be right. Maybe, maybe, but do your due diligence, take your time, and don't ever feel pressured to make a decision without feeling like it's really a good decision for you.
I love that. And I think you're right. I think there's a lot of times, and I see this more often with women than men, where they do feel pressured or guilted into making a decision, especially when it comes to something in the finance realm,
Hmm.
um, when they're not quite sure. And I always pull that back to you need to trust your gut and trust yourself.
Yeah.
And if you've got just a little bit of a, I'm not sure, well, just lean into that and pay attention.
Yes.
And I also tell people often if you're unsure of a decision or it feels like it's cloudy or murky and you're seeking clarity, all you have to do is gather more information. So it's not that you need to make the decision right now. And if you're unsure, that just means you might need more information, which really speaks to what you were just saying, which was you really need to understand it before you move forward in a purchase or an investment. And I love that. That's great guidance.
Yeah, I think it's important what you said too is the intuition. We as women are very, very intuitive, and if we can just be still enough and quiet enough to listen to that, we will, usually guide ourselves to the right decision. And if it feels a little squirrely in any capacity, that's, push pause.
Yes. Yes. Well, and it's interesting. I just as you were saying that, something clicked for me. And women are highly intuitive by nature. And I think our society intends to keep us busy
Mm,
and productive and doing all the things. So we are too busy to tap into that intuition
mm-hmm,
when really that is our power. That is the source of the power within us, is to be able to trust our own intuition. And I think that's why what we were talking about earlier is so important. Those moments of taking pause and resting become so important because it's a muscle that is strengthened as you use it.
mm-hmm.
And so the more often you allow yourself those moments of pause, the moments of rest, so that you can tap into that, it strengthens that muscle. That's where our power as women comes from.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's I think all the more reason why we've got to schedule that quiet time into our calendar,
Yes.
because if we just squeeze it in when we can, here and there, it's not enough. We've got to book it like a doctor's appointment. This
Yeah.
is a
Because,
non-negotiable. Even if it means going to your bedroom, closing the door, and saying, "Kids, here's a show. Watch it. Don't bother mommy unless it's urgent, and just have that time." And it's harder, as a single mom, and I get that. I've
sure.
lived that for many years, and it's very difficult, but you squeeze in those times. Like exercise to me is just a no. It's a non-negotiable for me. I absolutely have to exercise. And when my son was little, I would get up an hour earlier while he was still sleeping to make sure I got my exercise in, just because I knew if I started my day at 5 a.m. with a workout, my day was going to go a lot better. And
Yep.
did I love getting up at that hour? No, but I always felt better when I was done, and it just
Yes.
became, a habit. So whatever you have to do, whether it's getting up earlier, finding a time when they're in school, whatever it is, just block out that time.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, my kids, all of them have known when I call them mommy timeouts.
Mm,
Like I can put you guys in timeout, but sometimes I also have to put myself in timeout because I need just 5 minutes. And sometimes it really is just 5 minutes where I just can sit in a dark closet and breathe for a second. Like, I
Mm.
just think that giving ourselves permission to take the time when we need it is crucial. And as you're you're talking about waking up early to work out, I'm like, yes, I know. That's how I'm most productive at getting it done.
It's yeah, it's easier said than done for sure, and,
Yeah.
I think anything once you start it and you create that habit and you gain the momentum and you realize how good you feel afterwards, that
Yes.
habit becomes easier, and then your body clock just starts to, shift.
Adjust. Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Well, thank you for that reminder that I need to wake up early and work out.
You're welcome. Now you have to have someone
Well,
hold you
so
accountable for that.
I know exactly. Accountability partners are amazing.
Yeah.
So, as we kind of shift to looking forward and what's next, what do you now believe is possible for your own life?
I am excited about the opportunities and possibilities. I know in my heart that there are some amazing things coming as I build my business and I'm able to reach hundreds and thousands of women over time. I'm looking forward to that. It's funny because I mentioned my age earlier, and my friends are getting ready to retire and thinking, "Oh, at 65 you get Medicare," and I'm like, "Okay, who decided 65 was the year you retire? I'm going to have 30 more years of life, and what am I going to do?" And yes, I do want to slow down when my son has kids, and I want to slow down when I want to volunteer or do things more, just have more playtime. But I always feel like I want to be in purpose of some kind. And if I'm not living a purposeful life, I am going to, slowly wilt away. So that's something that I talk about when it comes to retirement. I think it's so important that people think about retirement way before they retire and have a plan for that. And I've studied this, and it's interesting because those that retire don't have a plan and enjoy just, resting and relaxing, and after a while they're isolated. They're not in a place where they're communicating with others. There's no socialization. They become depressed. There's some anxiety, and they wilt away. And even if it's getting up to go play a sport with your friends, whether, whatever it is, if it's volunteering someplace that that touches your heart, you've got to have a purpose. You've got to get up and be able to do something. So I know I went off on a tangent a little bit with that answer, but it's just, the retirement word, people have this image of, oh, I'm going to be sitting on the couch with bonbons. And it's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe occasionally, yeah. I'm not going to be like going all the time. And I do love my resting, in front of the TV, but I feel in my heart that there's some amazing things coming.
Yeah. No, I love tangents. I'm here for them all day long. I think you were hitting on some really good points. And I definitely have seen that hold true in my own life as I've watched people close to me retire, and some of them thrive and some of them really struggle. And I think you really hit on the key component of that, which is, do you have a sense of purpose? I think that
Mhm.
the people who have wrapped up their identity in their career and their purpose was devoted to their career, they're the ones who struggle in
Yes.
retirement unless they can find a substitute or find a new purpose. I think that's really the key to success in retirement. Whatever retirement looks like for you, I think that's really good advice and insight.
Yeah. And retirement could be working 10 hours a week. You can leave
Right.
your corporate 9 to 5 and you can be a consultant for a few hours a week and still have that engagement, society, conversations and interaction with other humans. Um, so yeah, retirement is a very personal definition and an image, and some want to just travel the world, and that's great too. It's whatever it is that you do. But yes, the purpose piece is very important.
The purpose piece is important. And also that social interaction. I think people don't give that enough credit or thought
Mhm.
around how often you are used to interacting with people. I think, we all need as human beings connection. And if your only connection to human beings or a sense of community or a sense of belonging was through your job, whatever that looked like, then you're going to struggle unless you create a new sense of connection and community. So I think that that socialization piece is really important as well.
Absolutely, and include some fun in that. I'll share a funny
Yes.
story. I just recently got on the pickleball craze, and I started playing pickleball, and it's so stinking fun. And I can see how people can get addicted to it. But
Well,
it's
I do not. So tell me more because I know it's all the craze right now. And I'm like, I don't understand it. Why is everybody loving the pickleball? So
just
tell
play
us
it.
more.
Just play
Okay.
it, and you'll find out. So I come from playing tennis. I played tennis for
Okay.
throughout high school and college, and really up until probably 10 years ago when I just got busy. Well, I've been busy a lot longer than that, but I was able to fit it into my world. And pickleball, I was always concerned that it would be a very different swing, and because of the different size in the racket, it was going to be hard for me to kind of adjust. And it wasn't at all. In fact, my tennis has helped my pickleball game, but it's a smaller court, and typically there's four of you, so it's a lot of socialization. It's a kind of a fast game. It's like ping pong on steroids, and
Okay.
it's just fun. It's just fun. Enough activity physically to keep you going and get a sweat going on, and it's a lot of giggles. It's
I
just a
love
lot
it.
of fun. You've got to just start it. I decided to sign up for a class through my local neighborhood thing here, and met some great people. And now we get together and we play. And yeah, just do it. Just try
I
it.
love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will. I will give it a shot. I was never really inclined to do well in tennis, but I've done all right at ping pong. So I'm like, all right, if it's kind of in between the two, maybe it'll be okay.
Yeah. No, you don't have to be good at tennis to do well in pickleball.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Well, good to know. Again, with the Shauna, you need to be active, is the message I'm hearing.
Active and fun. You've got to make it fun.
Yes,
If it's not fun, you
it's
won't keep
true.
it up.
It's true. It's true. Well, my last question for you is I'm sure people are going to want to reach out and have a little bit a dose of your guidance when it comes to finances. So, how can people find you?
The best way to find me is on my website, which is just my name, pattyhandy.com. It's PATTIHANDY.com. And I do offer a free roadmap. Download it of the Minding Her Money program. It's kind of the roadmap that we use to create the plan for financial and wellness. I'm also just wrapping up. I just finished up an ebook that I wrote, Women Soaring
Oh, good.
Solo, and that'll be available on the website for a free download as well. My website has lots of good information on there. If you have questions, I do offer a complimentary 30-minute call, so you can book that on my calendar, which is on my contact page on my website. So several ways to reach me, and happy to have a conversation and see how I can help.
That's perfect. I am excited to introduce you to all your future new clients who are listening to this episode. So, thank you for being here with me today. It was certainly a pleasure getting to know you, and I appreciate your time. Did you like this episode or did you love it? Inquiring minds want to know. The best way to support this show is to subscribe and leave a review. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.